It should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody that Justin Trudeau is hiding right now. We've been through this before. We've been actually almost in a situation identical to this before, albeit on a much smaller scale, and the environment, we'll call it, was a little bit different at the time. But in 2019, in February, a Suits and Boots convoy landed in Ottawa. Trudeau pieced. Not too long ago, when he was supposed to be in BC with some First Nations um, um, in regards to the residential school burial sites, he bailed on that as well. He hid from that too. This is his MO. So this is obviously going to fall to the people of Canada, which we've talked about before, and the provinces to deal with and to fix. So let's take a look at that. The provincial governments are blinking all across the country. They are blinking, which is unreal, and a sign that either what's happening now is expediting their plans, or it's influencing them to at least make these decisions sooner. So, regardless of what the actual truth is, there, I mean, it's working. One thing I'd like to say, kind of as a side note, something that I've thought about quite a bit throughout this, and in recent years, I've come more to understand my belief system and my values and what I anchor myself to. And one of those is that nobody respects your freedoms until you make them. Now, I'm not saying you need to put a gun in somebody's mouth by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm saying is you do need to make people care. Sometimes you need to park 10,000 trucks in Ottawa. Sometimes you need to block a border crossing in between Alberta and Montana. The message is being heard. Now, it's also being replicated and regurgitated in such a fashion that discredits what's happening and tries to minimize what's happening. And this is true of any movement, and I think many of us, if we were being honest with ourselves, could say that we may be guilty of this with some other movements in the past. So myself included. So I think it's important that we converse. I think Facebook and some more traditional or non-traditional means like social media of disseminating information and sharing information and having these kinds of public conversations, I think they're proving to be maybe a little bit less reliable based off of an incredibly large and, from my gathering, um, non-violating, non-TOS violating group of nearing 1 million people is just completely taken off twice, and it's obviously not coming back. um, I've personally had posts censored on Facebook, so we need to rely on what has worked in the past, and that is word of mouth, public debate, and conversations with thy neighbor. So this has to it has to be spoken about with everybody at every opportunity. Now, I'm not saying fuck up Thanksgiving dinner. I'm definitely saying have Thanksgiving dinner. That's definitely a thing. Let's make sure that that's never ever fucking even put on the table, for lack of better words, to be taken off the table. Human rights in Canada, at least, I mean, I would say the whole world, but from any kind of legal perspective, we can talk about Canada here, and we're talking about Canada here right now. We don't need to fucking go through this. We've already been through this. We had our rights given to us, which is the craziest fucking thing ever. We have been through this now for 700 to 800 fucking years. It started with the Magna Carta, then the Petition of Rights, then the Bill of Rights in 1689. Without knowing these fundamental moments and milestones in human rights, it is incredibly easy for us to forego any real kind of conversation about them because, well, it's just a vaccination. Whatever, it's just masks. It's just fucking limiting how many people are in a store. Then it's just limiting how many people are allowed in a country. Then it's limiting who can leave and when, which is already a thing. In some territories, there's specific days that residents can leave or re-enter the province or the territory, and they have to apply to do so. Like, that is fucking written here. Like, this has already been a thing. Like, these are, and even in the documentation on the government websites, their COVID protocols and their emergency powers, even in there, it says that these documents, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Canadian Bill of Rights, need to be respected, and they aren't. And there's reasons why they aren't. We're letting them not be. It's as simple as that. Just like when somebody doesn't respect what your personal rights are as an individual, the only reason why that happens is because you let them. Now you can say, this person is incredibly mean or a bully and they just like to hurt people's feelings, sure, whatever. There's obviously many things that we can do to prevent that from happening if we were so inclined. And we have to be so inclined now. Canadian citizens cannot freely travel throughout this country right now. I don't feel free. And if you do, you shouldn't. Now, I'm not talking about marching on our hospitals right now either. I want to make that incredibly clear. I have, like many people, had the data shoved down our throats now for nearly 2 years. It is obvious that COVID is a real virus and it has had an impact on our healthcare systems. Now, we can have a conversation about that as well. I would love to. I'm not prepared to yet. There's a little more learning I have to do before I'm comfortable having that one on a discussion on a public forum. But it's a conversation that will be had, and we all need to make sure that is the focus next. 2 fucking years, and I don't think we increased bed capacity at all. That's like, what the fuck? But I digress. Governments in Canada, our federal governments, have used the geography of Canada to their advantage. In Hong Kong, it is easy to march on the capital. Everybody's right there, right? In Canada, that's not a thing, right? In London, it is. Or in the United Kingdom, it is. You can drive across the country fairly quickly. This protest started a week before it landed in Ottawa. That's how long it takes to cross this country. Now, that's an incredible amount of momentum to build. So I'm impressed that it hasn't completely waned by now. I was worried. But that's also, I think, just lends more credit to how real this is. It's not fleeting. The carbon tax one was fleeting. I mean, I was pissed. I'm still pissed. My God, I have $1,000 power and gas bill for December. There's a significant amount of that is carbon tax, but we gave that fight up. Now, I mean, I think there's a pretty easy argument to be made that, like, come after my wallet, sure, come after my babies, and well, And I think for a lot of us, that's where we're seeing this going. Um, I think a lot of us are feeling like our safety, maybe not today, but I mean, I don't think it's far of a stretch for in the near future. But without a shadow of a doubt, if we continue this trajectory within the not too distant future, the safety of at least some Canadians is in jeopardy from our government. And I don't think we can argue about that. Anybody can argue about that. I think what we've seen happen this past year, the world over, is proof enough that it's capable of being done. And if it's capable of being done somewhere else, it's capable of being done here. And I think we're all in Canada, particularly, pretty fortunate in that we haven't had many, if any, of these real human rights like tragedies happen to us. I mean, we've had a couple in like the 80s in Quebec. We had some pretty gnarly shit happen over there with some First Nations or Indigenous populations, people being killed by the government. Fucking weird. So I don't think it's an overreaction for us, I'd say comfortable saying us, for us to march on the Capitol. And the government, and I say this particularly this one at the federal government, you didn't expect it, I don't think. I think you were pretty cocky. I think everybody in the government's about to get a bit of awakening. And I believe that to be true. I was watching the House of Commons today, and you can tell that there's people that connect with what's going on outside and people that just do not. I don't know how long it's going to take before everybody connects with it in some way or another. For some, undoubtedly, they just never will. I'm remiss to say that one of those people is, without a shadow of a doubt, our despot leader, Justin Trudeau. There's no chance that he's going to have like the coming to like the aha moment of clarity, right? It's not going to happen. I mean, he's been entrenched in a Laurentian elitist lifestyle his entire life. Like there is no, I think it was only last year that he was interviewed by his propagandists themselves, and they were asking him silly questions about like the price of groceries in Canada, and he had no fucking clue. He couldn't even guess. Like I bet you I could make, and every rational person, adult, like, and I mean by rational, I mean somebody who's experienced enough to have gone to get groceries a couple fucking times, and maybe done a household budget, could make a pretty accurate guess at what a loaf of bread costs in almost any country in the fucking world. And he couldn't even fucking guess in Canada. He's lived here his whole life. I mean, to him, you ask him, he's fucking Mr. Canada. He bleeds it with every bone in his body. Like a fucking, my God. It's easy to get drawn into a negative like style of like a negative cloud around this conversation, like just like that, right? And I mean that's a personal thing. I mean a lot of us, I believe, probably have a lot to work on in that respect. So it's important. We've been through a lot. I think everybody's burnt out. I don't think anybody's really made it through this past couple of years unscathed. So we need to stay focused on what's important right now. And hurling insults at our leaders, albeit gratifying, isn't productive. And I think overall, this movement has been predominantly positive. There's been some negative for sure. And I think we've, by and large, done a great job of isolating that. Um, I'm a little concerned about the bounty put on the guy with the swastika flag. I would love for an identity. I mean, without an invasion of privacy too much, like, I would love to find out what kind of motivation was there, because I have a hard time believing that the ultra far right is that brazen in Canada. I think we've done a pretty good job in Canada of pushing the far right out of the conversation. Like the far right. Like the fucking crazy 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever. 3% probably is what it is, actually. I bet less, sub 3%. Are like radical on either side of the spectrum in Canada. I think we need to do a better job of pushing some others out to the fringe. The fucking government is fringe in Canada. Fucking fringe. How insulting. But that's indicative of like a thought process, or like a mindset, or whatever you want to call it, right? Like that's not like a faux pas, or like a slip, a Freudian slip of any kind. Like that's just the fucking tiger showing you his stripes. No different than at his $1,500 per ticket or whatever gala somewhere at a Laurentian fucking highlight or high life joint. Some Aboriginal or Indigenous or whatever the fuck is culturally appropriate now. People showed up and were, obviously irate, and he had the fucking audacity to look and say thanks for your donation. That wasn't like him being funny then either. That's indicative of his personality. So back to how I started this, he's not coming out. He's not walking into Parliament after he's isolated from COVID, which I would only imagine is going to take fucking way longer than it's supposed to. He's not coming back into Parliament with these big reforming bills, unwinding this legislation that him and his team have worked so fucking hard. And I mean, they have worked hard to get this rammed through. Some hasn't yet. Let's not forget, some of them just got put to bed while Parliament sat. We have some pretty egregious internet monitoring bills that'll be coming up here in the near future, I believe. I haven't taken a look at what's on the docket, but I need to do that. So it's up to the provinces and it's up to the people. So to the provinces, scrap every single mandate immediately. Allow businesses to choose whether or not they're going to request their patronage follow a certain criteria of like a behavior within their store, like social distancing, capacity limits, masks, whatever. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody has the right to be asking anybody for proof of any kind of treatment, health-wise or otherwise. So, I mean, that's just completely off the table in its entirety. But if a business wants to, continue with those things, they have every right to do that, and they should be supported in that. Just not with our dollars. Start to build credibility in our provincial institutions again by resigning from some of your posts, effective immediately. This pandemic is over, by and large. I think Albertans can say and Canadians can say, thanks for the good that you've done. I personally will chalk up stupidity, ignorance, stress, and oversight to your judgment rather than malice or any other kind of malintent. I hope that to be true. And open the books on absolutely everything. AHS, every single provincial health authority, open the books. It is time to start trimming the fat. We have made that obviously clear over the past 2 years. Germany is a prime example. A very similarly structured healthcare system, double the population, same budget. Their administrative bloat is very minimal. I'm sure I'm going to get eviscerated on this one. It's just a jurisdiction I picked. I apologize for being not exactly right. To Canadians, hold the line, support our truckers, support one another. We are not going to have the entire support of the country on this. That is perfectly fine. If we all thought the same, this would be North Korea. We have a difference of opinion in this country. That is what several differences of opinion. We don't even have just, it's not even just an A or B, white or, black or whatever, red or blue. We got a little bit of orange in here. We got some green in here. This country is incredibly diverse in what you're allowed to think about. Support each other through this. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are lonely. A lot of people are scared. I'm most of those things. Be good to one another. And that's these are just like fundamental things that I think we could all agree on. This is going to be a fight for the future of our country. This is going to change the direction that our country heads one way or the other. So, do not comply. Hold the line. This is going to get harder. For a lot of people, this hasn't been hard yet. For a lot of people, this has been fucking invigorating. But it's going to get difficult. It's easy to ostracize people who believe what seems to many and is easy to believe as the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, type belief. It's easy to believe what you're spoon fed in news articles and sound bites, because we've put hundreds of years of craft into mastering how to make them have that effect, and we're fucking good at it. So have compassion. But our governments are blinking, so we need to keep up the hard work. I appreciate everybody's efforts, and I appreciate everybody's willingness to have a conversation. And those who aren't willing to have a conversation, well, fuck you. You need to learn how to have a conversation. You need to learn how to listen to people you don't like. I listened to a couple of people I don't like today. And it helped. It was good. Eat your veggies, get lots of sleep, drink lots of water, exercise, take responsibility for your health. We're going to make it through this. We're going to make it through it as resilient. We're going to come through it stronger. Governments work for the people. Governments cave when people stand up. Every single time, 100% of the time. When they don't, it turns into war. And I refuse to believe that as Canadians, we will descend into war. So we won't go to war with our fucking government. That's not what Canadians are about. That's not how this is going to go, right? So any conversation that around that just needs to get fucking put to the side. We're going to oust our government and shame them. God bless Canada.